Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Ron LeGrand again, back with another Mentor Podcast. This mentoring podcast is all about how to help you make more money in life and keep more of it along the way and protect it and pay less taxes on it. We're going to cover all subjects pertaining to those issues with multiple different authors from different fields. And we have with us today Mr. Alton Jones, who happens to be the legend of Southern California when it comes to rehabbing higher-end houses. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Ron. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. We'll tell our listeners a little bit about your background and why you're no longer an LA cop, and lead us into the discussion today as to how it would pertain to them, perhaps.
Sure. You know, I was an LA cop for over 30 years, working the streets of Los Angeles, loving life. Started when I was very young, at 21 years old. I was so young looking, and I only weighed about 128 pounds. They pulled me immediately out of the academy and put me in the high schools to buy drugs in high schools. Can you believe that? Imagine
No kidding.
That.
Really? They did?
I was buying drugs at 130 pounds, dripping wet. And I didn't know. I had never touched drugs in my life, but yet they wanted me to go in there buying drugs. I had never even known what drugs looked like.
So I never did know that. So you were a legal drug buyer, huh? That's
right. And I had a lot. And, they put me over there in some of the worst schools in LA, and I was real nervous going through those schools because I was pretty much grown up in a nicer side of LA. So when they put me in the rough part, I was kind of nervous in going in there, and I couldn't carry my weapon going in there. So, but it was fun. It was a fun thing. And all the years went by, got through that process, worked the streets of Los Angeles, working patrol, working investigations and stuff like that, having life. But at the end of the day, you need to make more money.
Yeah. Getting shot at a lot too, huh?
Oh, man, shot at multiple different times. And luckily, when you're scared, bullets don't have names on it, Mom used to say. So I had to be real quick to duck and dodge those bullets. And but you know what? It was funny because when the bullets were flying and the shots were flying, we all ran towards gunfire where everybody else was running away. And I don't know why that is, but it's something the way we were cut and brought up. We were basically running towards gunfire. I run away from fires, but I run towards gunfire.
That's the way you were trained. It's just like real estate. You don't do what other people do you?
That's right. We don't.
Or you'd be getting what other people get, which is pretty much nothing. So tell us about, first, when did you come into Planet Ron?
I came into Planet Ron probably around 2000, I want to say 13, 14.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And you were a cop then, or were you already doing real estate?
Well, I was doing real estate part-time as an agent, just kind of selling, houses as an agent. I had already transitioned out of law enforcement full-time, and I stayed as a reserve officer. Even today, I still am a reserve officer with Los Angeles Police Department. But that's not where I make money. They don't pay you to go out anymore. But I got involved in real estate from a part-time standpoint and was learning how to invest a little bit here and there, but just really never had any training. I was going through the school of hard knocks.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that school. It's quite expensive, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Every time I went through it, I lost money.
Well, we see where you were, Alton. What does life look like today, just a few short years later?
Oh, man, Ron, just a few short years later, the stuff that I thought I knew, I didn't know nothing. And then after coming to Planet Ron and learning different techniques and strategies on how to acquire houses, and not only just acquire houses, but how to develop a system that is a duplicatable system where I can be automated and be able to make more money and do less work was just an eye-opener.
I heard that works.
I think you wrote a book about it, right?
Yeah, I did. It's called The Less I Do, The More I Make, and it's on Amazon now that you gave me that plug there. So listen, what you learned, fortunately for you, simultaneously was rehabbing houses, but you also learned to get out of your own way so it didn't suck up your life. And so you spend very little time on it. You manage the business and you make decisions. and you do the things that an entrepreneur should do, and try to get all the grunt work out of your way, so you literally have more time to yourself. Is that what I'm reading into what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was doing more of the technician. I was being involved in everything when I didn't have to. I could basically bring other people around who were absolutely much more smarter than I was, and very skillful in their the work that they were doing. So I just kind of trust the process and allow them to do the work, get out of the way, and follow the system.
As I recall, it wasn't that hard to find people smarter than you, was it?
No, I was a D student growing up, so I think anybody that was a C
blew right by you, Mr. Jones.
yeah, it was very easy to find people. If you had a heartbeat and a breath, then you probably was much smarter than I am. But I think I was just I had a PhD, Ron. My PhD was in being poor, hungry, and driven. I can outwork anyone around me if I put my mind to it.
Yeah. And you know what? I find that trait very common in pretty much everybody I'm interviewing on this podcast. And that is they love to work. They live to work. And they usually outwork the people around them. It seems like everybody I interview has that same trait. So what got you into rehabbing? I know you came to my class and all, but you live out there in the world where money means something different than it means in the rest of the country. So you just naturally gravitated to higher end houses because you live in a higher end area.
California is a very expensive market. But it's a lot of opportunities there. Yeah. And because of the strategies and techniques I've learned through coming through Planet Ron, I was able to acquire houses on terms. I love rehabbing. That's my passion about the single family homes in California. But I can rehab homes under terms for big fat contracts and checks at the end of the day. I don't have to use any of my money, nor any of my credit.
None of your money and none of your credit, huh?
That's right. None of my money, none of my credit, and don't guarantee anything. And so therefore I can find the deals that make sense, not only to me, but also to the person that I'm working with, which is the seller. And then I could turn a great product out that people would be in love with.
Now, you know that a lot of our listeners are a little skeptical about this no money and no credit thing. So you probably should explain to me how you buy houses with no money or credit out there. But before you do, give me an example of the last house or two you've done so we can get a feel for the kind of money you make when you do these deals.
Okay, so we had a house that we just did a little while ago that we acquired the property, and it's actually, it was in Altadena, California. And this house was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, dilapidated, old, and the gentleman just couldn't afford to do any repairs to it, and he was getting to his retirement age, and he just didn't want to be dealing with contractors. So he goes, I would love to sell you my house. And so I was like, well, I'd love to buy your house, but I don't have any money. He goes, don't worry about it. I don't owe much of my house. He says, if you come up with some great terms that would make beneficial to me and you, I know the house needs to be redone completely. He says, if you can come up with a plan, he goes, I don't need my money for at least 2 years. So if we can agree on price and we can come to terms, then you would sell me your house. He says, yes. So then we can put a plan together where we bought this house for $330,000. We took over part of his debt that was already existing on a loan for about $150,000 that he owed. And then we created a note for another $200,000 that was zero interest and no payments until the house was fixed up and sold.
All right, so stop right there for a second.
Okay.
You took over his first mortgage, which means you just started making the payment on it.
Yes.
First of all, he deeded the property to you.
Yes.
And simultaneously, of course, you took over his first, you started making the payment, and then your attorney created a second deed of trust for the 200.
Right.
So 150 on the first and 200 on the second back to the seller. So literally you got in with no money. The seller, then you owe the seller $200,000 at the end of 2 years.
That's correct. That's correct. The only money we had to put in was just the closing costs, basically.
Closing costs? Okay, then you rehabbed it. How much the rehab cost?
Well, the rehab cost us $225,000 because we actually tore the house down completely and built up a new house.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and frankly, that's getting they're doing that all over the country right now in hot areas like this one, where the math justifies it. So you paid $350,000 for a lot, basically.
Basically,
you tore the house down.
Yes.
All right. Then you spent $225,000 more building a new house.
That's correct.
So that's $350, $450, $575 in it.
Yes,
And
$575 all in.
And what did you sell the house for?
We sold that house. We had listed it for $850,000, but we actually got somebody to come in with cash for $830,000.
So you sold it for $830,000 and somebody just wrote a check.
Right.
So what'd you net on that house?
That one we netted, let's see here. So we're netted minus, get some plus or minus commissions and stuff. So we had $255,000. So let's say we minus $25,000 off that. Let's just call it a $220,000 profit.
Okay.
On that deal.
House. All right. So
that's net.
How did you raise the money to do the 2.25 rehab?
Oh, I love that part. That's the part I love the most, Ron, because when you're able to acquire this property, I was able to convince the seller who gave me a second trustee note for a $200,000 to subordinate his second trustee note to a third position, so I can bring in my private money in the second position.
So you got a private lender, which was a human,
yes,
not a loan shark, an individual who wanted to get a good rate of return on their money.
Right.
And you put them in second position and ask the seller to go in third position. Still very good loan to value ratio.
Absolutely.
And what kind of rate did you pay the second lien?
I paid him a whopping 9.9%. So which is high, but I was making a lot more than 20% on it.
You paid them 10% on their 2.25, not 10% of the sales price.
Right. Okay. That's correct.
And that's 10% annual interest rate.
Right.
Yeah. How long did it take to turn this thing around and get paid, Alton?
This one was only 12 months.
12 months. And you're out there where it takes a while because you got to deal with the city, and they're not real fast out there, are they?
No, they're very slow. The city over here where we're at was very slow. It took actually about 8 months just to get the permits approved before we could even do any demolition.
Well, I remember the one way back, not too far back, but a while back, you did a deal that netted over $800,000 on one.
Yeah, the one I'm looking right at it right here. I got that one sitting there on my desk. That's one of my case studies. And that house was a great house. 2 blocks, literally 2 blocks from Paramount Studios' front gate.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, in Hollywood. And that house, it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, nothing, 800 square foot house that we tore down and built a 4,900 square foot duplex that was on an R3 lot. Mm-hmm. And that gave us an advantage because of the residential 3 gave us multiple family units that we could build on that lot. Now, the key thing is that restricted us because it was only a 3,900 square foot lot.
Wow.
So, but the height, they allow us to go up. And so they had a very generous height restriction that allow us to go higher at 45 feet in the air.
All right.
So we ended up buying that property for $570,000, and today you can't even get dirt over there for less than $900.
Wow.
Well, okay.
Okay. Well, listen, I want to talk to you about some of the mindset here.
Yeah.
When you first came out of being a cop and you got into real estate, surely you must have had the same doubts and skepticism that everybody else does. Where am I going to get the money? My credit ain't all that great. I'm not worthy. How am I ever going to do this? What propelled you to get over that thought process, if you can recall? Why do you think different than the rest of the cops?
Well, the good thing is, because being a cop, you're always in that negative environment because you have people being arrested, people who are losing loved ones, and all kind of emotions are involved. And when we walk into a tactical situation, we have to disarm ourselves from the emotion. So we take the emotion out and look at things from a logical standpoint. The one thing I did do is surround myself with like-minded people who was moving in a direction that I wanted to be in. I wanted to go in.
You know what? I hear that a lot in these interviews with folks. It's another very common trait. Mm-hmm. Get around the people you want to be like, not the ones that you don't want to be like. Hang around with people who know more than you do, not know less than you do.
Or you can soar with the eagles, or you can flock with the chickens.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So I changed my way of thinking and looking at things half full versus half empty, and how can I versus how can't I. People always told me, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm always thinking, well, how can I do it? How can I do it? And so I surrounded myself with people who were doing that. And then not to mention getting with a coach and a mentor that will allow me to stretch my vision. I tell you, my vision has been stretched so much over the last few years. I can never, ever go back to work a job. I'm unemployable, Ron. I can tell you that right now. I could not work for anybody.
So I ruined you, huh?
You ruined me. It was just completely ruined.
As I recall, as soon as you got into my system, you got a mentor, didn't you?
Absolutely, right up front.
And they worked with you for 6 months. I assume that helped you get your mindset change.
Yeah, and we did 6 deals during that time I was learning.
Deals. So you did 6 deals while you were being mentored. That's
right.
Kind of makes it easier to listen, doesn't it, Alton? So you actually paid for your training many, many, many times over while you were getting your training, didn't you?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So let me retract for a moment because there's still folks wondering, that's good for him. He can get the money. He knows some people out there in California, but I don't know anybody. Your money comes from 2 sources. You get seller financing when you can, and and you also add to that private lending, or you just get a private lender to fund the whole thing. Is that correct? I can actually had a partner a couple of times.
Right.
Put up the money and you did all the work, right?
Right.
So none of that required your money.
That's right. See, a closed mouth don't get fed, Ron. You have to ask for what you want. So I believe in, if I can make the deal work by getting, the first thing I want to do is lead with the seller to ask them, would you mind, carrying a note? Would you mind carrying the paper, or would you mind owner financing? That's the first way. So I don't have to go out and get a large loan from somewhere else. Then the second thing is to get that private money to do the repairs on the house, which is actually very easy to get if you think about it. Once they see a deal and the formula numbers work and make sense to the person who knows, then it's going to be very easy to get that.
As long as the math is there and it makes sense and they're well protected with equity above your loan, sure.
Right.
And especially you're paying them 7, 8, 9, 10%. Golly, where are they going to get that kind of rate of return? I mean, the stock market ain't producing it.
No, not at all. And then you have the security of having a nice a note that's in place.
Secured by the property, recorded down at the courthouse, closed with an attorney. So it ain't like they're not protected. In fact, it's probably one of the safest investments they could make. Alton, you how many houses a year are you doing right now? You don't do that many, do you? No,
we do probably about 4 or 5 houses a year. And we don't just do in California. We also do in other states too. But right now, primarily it's California where our big checks are coming from.
So you are focusing on quality, not quantity.
Yes. Because that makes you stand out. Because when you do a quality house and you see people see other homes in and around your property, when they start doing, when you come to the market and you see other houses and you can see these so-called rehab houses that have done very inexpensive, cheap ways of doing it because they wanted to save a nickel, because either they bought too high and they underestimated their repairs by a lot versus doing a good job on the front end.
Watching too many TV shows, huh?
Absolutely. You know what? At one point, I was at that point early on before Planet Ron, watching TV, thinking I can get my training there. And that is not the place to get your training from HGTV or, one of them television shows. You got to get it in
There's no reality on any of them reality shows, is there, Alton?
Right. There's no.
If you play by their numbers, you lose money on every deal, don't you?
Every deal.
Every deal. Because the numbers they quote you aren't exactly the way it is in the real world.
It's TV land.
Yeah, but when I meant quality over quantity, I meant you focus on deals that make more money per deal.
Right.
Not a lot of deals that make a lot less money per deal. So
minimum of 100,000 is our average profit on deals is about 120,000. And even now, some of the people that we work with, some of our students now, they're making close to 200,000, between 100 to 200,000 on their deals. So we love that, because to us, it means that whatever we're showing them that we've learned. See, I believe that if you copycat, it's okay to copycat as long as you copy the right cat. See, I copied you, Ron. I copied you, and I swiped and deployed all the knowledge that you showed me so I could share with the people that are around me here in California so they can do the same.
And now you're not only teaching others what you do, but you're also working with them and making some of them your partners, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
In the Southern California market?
It's been a great experience.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What keeps you awake at night?
Well, let's see.
You didn't see that one coming, did you?
I didn't see that one coming. I could go in different directions about my wife snoring, but but I'm going to be in trouble for that one.
Yeah, you better shut up on that one.
You better be quiet on that one. But what keeps me up at night is thinking that maybe I'm not doing enough, and maybe I may be holding back, not letting it all hang out the way I really want to. There's so much out there in this land of opportunity. We live in the greatest country in the world. We have great leaders out there. We have people who are a position to help us, and then also to help others. But I think that what keeps me up at night is not being able to live to my fullest potential, and I never want to live with that regret.
So you know you can get a lot more done than you're doing right now, and you can't rest in peace until you get it all done and know you've done the most you can do with this short life we have. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Coming from a background of dodging bullets and realizing how quickly it can all go away, huh?
Yeah, that's true.
And your wife works with you in this business, doesn't she?
She's the office manager, so she runs the office and everything else along those lines.
So she's the brains of the outfit, and you're just the pretty face?
Yeah, I'm just a pretty face. She's in charge. She's really in charge. I'm just here doing whatever she tells me to do.
Okay. What excites you the most?
Well, watching we spend time with our kids in our business. We have adult kids, we have young kids, and that's exciting because they see us going out there building a business. That's something they can learn from. They're going to be they're starting their families now, the older ones, and they're watching how we operate in our business, and they want the same things for their family as well. So we really enjoy seeing our kids and enjoying family time and traveling together, and so we're excited about the future.
When you get out of bed in the morning, there's anything you have to do, is there?
No, other than walk my daughter to school.
No job to report to?
How many dads can walk their daughter to school during the week?
Well, I guess not many.
Not many.
Yeah.
Don't have a boss. I can go in when I want. I can work. I can be where I'm at. Yep. I can travel. I can get on a plane in the next 20 minutes and be in your office by overnight.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. And you've been in my office several times, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
If you look back to your beginning, what do you think the biggest mistake you made when you were learning the ropes?
You know what? I believe my biggest mistake is not believing in myself enough that I can go out there and do it, because I was a academically challenged young man and reading, mathematics, writing. So I felt that those fears and those barriers that I put upon myself held me back. So I stopped treating myself like a victim and taking charge of my life from there, and not worrying about what other people think of me, because they're going to think about that anyway, and it really matter because they're not adding to my bank account.
Right. So you had low self-esteem. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
And you didn't think you were worthy?
I didn't think I was worthy.
I mean, even after being a cop and being in a position of power like that, you still had that issue?
Yeah, well, I did, but that helped me get through some of the process. But you still have that position of authority is just that. It's still the person. You still have to deal with the person themselves. Yeah. And then when you take off the badge, you take off the gun, who are you after that? You got a job to do, but once you're done doing the job, what do you do after that? And it really, our business now, I realize, Ron, all it is talking to people.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the whole thing. It's talking to people and building relationships. So I had to get great at building relationships. I learned that in the police department because there are people we had, armed individuals that wanted to, kill themselves and kill us along the way. You had to be very smart and sharp to be able to talk them into handcuffs that were twice your size. And so we had to learn how to overcome and adapt. And I think
that's a very important statement. When you develop the ability to carry on a conversation and especially persuade the other side to think more along your way, that serves you for your entire life and it'll pretty much get you where you want to go, regardless of what business or profession you're in. It's all about communication and relationships, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that has to do with leadership. Leadership is influence. So we've influenced people enough to see things our way, then we can get more deals done.
So you're saying you can either think or you can labor for those who think.
Absolutely.
And you'd rather be the thinker.
Yes.
You've had enough of being the laborer.
I've done that too long.
All right. Well, listen, I understand you got a book, don't you?
Yeah, we have a book called The 4 Biggest House Flipping Mistakes That's Made Us Millions.
The 4 Biggest House Flipping Mistakes That Have Made You Millions. That sounds like an interesting book.
Mm-hmm.
How would I go about getting this book? Since I'm listening to this, I expect you're going to give that book to our listeners for free, are you not?
Yes, we are going to give this book out for free to the listeners. And all they have to do is go to the website, go to this link, thementorpodcast.com. That's thementorpodcast.com/Alton. That's Alton. That's my first name, Alton.
Okay.
Thementorpodcast.com/Alton.
And that's the Mentor Podcast. Now, don't forget the. All right. And then you're going to, they can get your book right there, huh?
Yep.
All right. And if you are interested in anything that the old guy here is doing, you can get my book at recessionproofron.com, recessionproofron.com, or ronsfreebook.com, either one. And in fact, my book is How to Be a Quick Turn Real Estate Millionaire in Any Economy, which is what Alton has done, in fact.
Yeah.
You can also get my wholesaling course. Alton is a buy and fix guy, but there's a lot of folks out there who want to buy and flip the guys like Alton and me. And you can get my wholesaling course at ronsdollardeal.com for $1. ronsdollardeal.com. It's a $500 course. So, Alton, we are about to end this. What words of wisdom can you give our listeners that will make them think about you for a while? And in other words, what piece of advice that you wish you knew back then that you know now?
Well, Ron, that's a great thing. Thank you very much. Number one, you have to go do whatever you can to believe in yourself. Don't listen to anybody around you that are pulling you back from stopping you from doing what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Take the information, listen to those who know. I look at whoever's pile is bigger than my pile, follow what they're doing. Mimic and match what other people who are successful are doing. Seek them out. Mm-hmm. I sought Ron LeGrand out through several different sources to get where I'm at today. And there have been so many others that tried to pull me back and saying, oh, that doesn't work. Don't believe that. You got to believe in yourself. Yeah. Trust the people that you want to follow and go do it.
So the dream stealers are abundant. And it don't take you long to figure out that broke people can't teach you how to be rich. So it matters little what they have to say. Don't listen to the morons. Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Because they all have an opinion, and it's worth what it costs, isn't it?
They're not paying your bills.
All right. Well, sir, I appreciate you taking the time to spend this time with us today, and I know our listeners will get a lot out of your valuable input. And keep doing what you're doing and keep teaching what you're teaching, and onward and upward. And I'll see you on the next one.
All right, Ron. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.